يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. Brothers, sisters, friends, respected listeners, quick reminder. In this verse, God Almighty tells something very simple. And He says, O people, all the people, know that you've been created from a single male and a single female. So, side point, but God recognizes only two genders. Eh? Moving on. Allah Almighty then He says that indeed you have been created in tribes and in nations so that you recognize one another. Now this is beautiful because Allah is telling us that He recognizes different skin colors, different cultures, different languages, different food. All of these things God appreciates. And He says that your nation, your color, your tribe, it is not so that one is superior over the other, one is better than the other. No, He simply says that you recognize one another, that different appearances, different cultures, that you appreciate one another, that you love one another, and you know one another. Imagine if we were all the same color, we looked exactly the same, we had the same language, we had the same food. How boring would that be? Your Friday nights would never be the same again. So you'll find that God Almighty tells us with different colors, different languages, not for superiority, inferiority. No. Simply to recognize one another, simply to appreciate one another, simply to love one another. So the concept of racism, it doesn't exist in Islam. The concept of one being better than the other doesn't exist in Islam. In the eyes of God, we are all the same. The verse actually concludes and it says, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. If you want to know who is actually superior in the eyes of God, He tells us that they are the ones who have the best of manners. They are the ones who are the most closest to God. They are the ones who are most God conscious. That they think before they say something. They think before they do something. They think of the consequences of what they're going to say. They're loving, they're caring, they're appreciative. And these are the people who God Almighty He loves. And they are the ones who are the most closest to God. Not your skin color, not your class, not your passport. None of that matters in the eyes of God. What matters in the sight of God is this organ here, your heart. How clean, how pure, and how loving and caring you are towards God and toward God's creation, and that's mankind. Great reminder. We're coming towards the last 10 nights of Ramadan. I ask Allah Almighty to give me and to give you taqwa. I ask Allah Almighty to perfect my manners and your manners. And I ask God Almighty that He spreads love between me and you, irrespective of color, irrespective of background, irrespective of passports. We are all one beautiful family, as mentioned inside of the Holy Quran.